One introduction. Israel and Iran have been enemies for many years. They fought a long, quiet war. This was often called a shadow war. In this war, they did not attack each other directly very often. They used other groups to fight, or they made secret attacks. This went on for many years, but now everything is different. A new time has started. This time is not quiet. It is a time of open fighting. It is a dangerous time for both Israel and Iran. The two countries are now attacking each other directly. This story will tell you about the big events in this new conflict. It will help you understand what happened. It will show you how the fighting changed. First, Israel made strong attacks. Israel sent planes and missiles to Iran. They hit important places. These were not normal places. They were military places. Israel attacked sites where Iran might make nuclear weapons. They also hit places where Iran makes missiles. Israel also attacked important military leaders in Iran. Israel's goal was to stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons. These attacks were a big step. They showed that Israel could attack deep inside Iran. This was new. After Israel's attacks, Iran fought back. Iran sent many missiles and drones towards Israel. A drone is like a small plane without a pilot. Iran used hundreds of these missiles and drones. Iran aimed at cities in Israel. The attacks from Iran were different from Israel's attacks. Israel attacked military targets. Iran attacked places where normal people live. Iran wanted to cause damage and make people afraid. Israel has a good system to stop missiles. It is called the Iron Dome. The Iron Dome stopped most of Iran's missiles. It saved many lives. But some missiles got through the defense system. They hit buildings and caused damage. Some people in Israel were hurt or killed by these missiles. This open fighting is changing the rules in the Middle East. The old shadow war is finished. Now it is a direct conflict between Israel and Iran. This makes the situation in the region very serious. This story will explain more about these events. It will tell you about Israel's careful attacks. It will tell you about Iran's large missile attacks. It will also talk about other things, like how other countries see this conflict. It will look at the situation inside Iran, and it will think about what might happen next. The beginning of this open fighting is a very important event. It shows that the conflict between Israel and Iran has become much more dangerous. It is a new and difficult time for both countries and for the Middle East. This chapter is the start of understanding this new and dangerous time. It shows the first steps in the direct fight between Israel and Iran. 2. The old way is over. For many years, the conflict between Iran and Israel was not fought directly between the two countries. It was more of a hidden war. Iran often used other groups in the Middle East to attack Israel. These groups were like friends or partners of Iran in different countries. People called this a shadow war. For decades, Israel often showed a lot of control and did not always respond with full power against these attacks from the groups. This was the old way. But this long period of fighting through others came to an end. A very big and serious attack took place. This attack caused significant harm and loss of life in Israel. Following this event, Israel made a clear decision. They announced that they would no longer hold back their military strength. They felt that the time for showing restraint was over. This moment marked the end of the old way of fighting and the start of a new, direct conflict between Israel and Iran. Israel began a major new military operation. They chose a specific name for this operation, Operation Rising Lion. This name is very important and has two main meanings. The first meaning is about protecting Israel's people. It is like a powerful lion standing up to protect its family. Israel started this operation to defend its citizens against the many attacks they had faced over the years. The goal was to ensure the safety of Israelis. The second meaning of rising lion is related to a hope for the Iranian people. Before the current government came to power in Iran, the country had a different national flag. On this older flag, there was a picture of a lion and the sun. So the name Rising Lion also suggests a hope that the people inside Iran can rise up and make changes in their own country. It is a hope that they might be able to take back their freedom and their country's future. With Operation Rising Lion, Israel started to attack important military and nuclear sites directly inside Iran. This was a big change from only fighting the groups that Iran supported. In response, Iran also launched many missiles and drones directly at cities and military bases in Israel. The fighting was no longer hidden behind other groups. It became an open and direct war between the two main countries. This new situation was different and created a lot of uncertainty in the region. The time of the Shadow War was finished, and a new era of direct confrontation had begun. 3. Israel's big attack. Israel planned its big attack very carefully. They used advanced intelligence to find the right places to hit. This information helped them know exactly where important things were located. They knew about Iran's nuclear sites, where they were building missiles, and who the important military leaders were. The attacks hit many different sites across Iran. A main focus was on places connected to Iran's nuclear work. Some of these sites were deeply buried underground. They also targeted buildings where ballistic missiles were made. Important military leaders were targets too. These leaders were part of groups like the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. Scientists who worked on Iran's weapons programs were also hit. The intelligence was so good that Israel could target specific individuals or even specific rooms where they might be. The big goal of these strikes was to stop Iran from being able to build nuclear weapons forever. Israel wanted to end this threat for good. For many years, Israel had shown great patience despite attacks from groups supported by Iran. But after some very bad events, Israel decided it was time to fight back directly and strongly. The strikes were very precise. This means the attacks were aimed at specific points with great accuracy. This level of precision needed very good intelligence and planning. Israel used different ways to attack. They used drones, and some reports said these drones were sent from secret bases inside Iran. This showed how well Israel could operate inside the country. The attacks also targeted parts of Iran's fuel system, like a gas station and oil tanks near Tehran. These strikes were part of the larger effort to weaken Iran's ability to make war. By hitting these important military and nuclear sites, Israel showed it was ready to fight back strongly. This attack was one of the biggest Israel had ever launched against Iran. It marked a new and dangerous time in the fighting. The success of these strikes showed Israel's strong ability to act far from home and hit its targets with great accuracy. The planning involved finding key people and important places to stop Iran's dangerous plans and protect Israel. 4. Iran hits back. Iran decided to answer Israel's attacks quickly. They launched a large number of weapons towards Israel. These weapons were mostly missiles and drones. Hundreds of them flew through the sky. Iran chose different targets than Israel did. Israel had attacked military places and important people, but Iran sent its missiles and drones towards cities and towns in Israel. They aimed for areas where many people lived. This difference in targets was very clear. Iran wanted to cause damage to buildings and places. They also wanted to make the Israeli people feel afraid. By hitting cities, Iran showed it could reach inside Israel and hurt civilians. Israel has a defense system called the Iron Dome. This system is built to stop rockets and missiles in the air before they land. When Iran's weapons came, the Iron Dome worked hard. It stopped most of the hundreds of missiles and drones. However, no defense system is perfect. Some of the weapons launched by Iran managed to get past the Iron Dome. These missiles hit the ground in different places in Israel. They caused damage in cities. Sadly, these attacks on civilian areas caused harm to people. Many Israeli civilians were hurt. More than 300 people were wounded, and 11 civilians were killed because of the missiles that got through. Iran has a large number of missiles in total, maybe around 2,000 ballistic missiles. They often use a tactic where they send many missiles and drones at the same time. This is done to try and overwhelm Israel's defense systems, hoping some will hit their targets. The fighting showed that Iran can hit back, but it also showed the strength of Israel's defense, even though some weapons caused damage and casualties. The United States also helped Israel defend itself. American forces helped to shoot down some of the incoming missiles during the attacks. Iran's counterattack was a major event. It showed that the conflict was changing. Iran was now directly attacking Israel with many missiles aimed at its cities, answering Israel's earlier strikes on military targets. This was a dangerous new step. 5. The American president's view. The United States had a very important job in this time of conflict. Donald Trump was the president of the United States again. When this dangerous time started, President Trump wanted to find a peaceful way. He tried to make a deal with Iran. He hoped they could talk and stop the problems before they got worse. There were talks between the United States and Iran. They wanted to find an agreement. They talked about Iran's plans for nuclear power. President Trump wanted Iran to stop these plans. But these talks did not work well. They did not find an agreement that both sides liked. The talks failed completely. This meant the peaceful way was not working. Because the talks failed, President Trump's view changed a lot. He then showed very strong support for Israel. He said clearly that Israel had the right to defend itself. Israel needed to be safe from attacks from Iran and groups supported by Iran. When Iran sent many missiles and drones towards Israel, the United States helped. American forces worked together with Israel's defense system. This was called close coordination. They helped to stop the Iranian missiles. They shot them down from the sky before they could hit cities or people. This helped to keep people in Israel safe from the attacks that could hurt them. But the United States did not join Israel's attacks on military places inside Iran. The U.S. gave help, but this help was mainly for defense. The U.S. helped Israel protect itself from the air attacks. There was also talk about some very difficult places to hit in Iran. Some of Iran's nuclear sites were built very, very deep underground. Some of these places were under big mountains, making them hard to reach. It was thought that Israel might not have the right special weapons or bombs to reach these deep places by itself. People talked that the United States had special big bombs, sometimes called bunker busters. The United States also had strong, powerful planes that could carry these heavy bombs. These tools could reach the deep places underground. There was talk that the United States might help attack these very strong Iranian nuclear sites if it became necessary in the future. This showed that the U.S. was ready to use its military power for certain hard jobs that Israel could not do alone. It was also ready to help Israel defend itself strongly. The United States worked very closely with Israel's military forces. President Trump talked with important leaders, including the leader of Israel, Prime Minister Netanyahu. The position of the United States became clear. It wanted to support Israel's safety. It also wanted to stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons. But the U.S. tried hard to avoid a bigger war if that was possible. However, if the nuclear threat from Iran became too big for Israel to handle alone, the U.S. was ready to act with force. The planned talks with Iran were stopped because the situation changed a lot. This time showed America's role. It was a strong supporter of Israel. It was also a country ready to use its strength if the nuclear danger grew too great. 6. The people inside Iran. 80% of people in Iran do not trust their government. They feel unhappy with the way things are. For many years, people have gone into the streets to protest. Millions of people have done this since 2009. They have shouted against the leader of the country, calling him a dictator. They have asked people from other countries if they support the people or the dictator. People have been in the streets every year since 2017, yelling the same message. In 2022, there was a very important movement led by brave women. Hundreds of thousands of women went into the streets. They showed their protest by taking off their forced head coverings. This was a strong message against the rules about how women must dress. The government has used strong force to stop these protests. They have hurt and killed many people who were protesting peacefully. They have used torture against those they catch. They even used chemical weapons against schoolgirls to try and break the spirit of the women's movement. But even after this terrible treatment, people still protest in Iran. Recently, truck drivers stopped working across the country to show their protest against the government. About 80% of the people in Iran want the current government to end. They want to see a change. Some people outside Iran believe it is very important to help the Iranian people. This help could be different types of support. It could be technology to help them communicate with each other and the outside world. It could be money to help them continue their efforts. Some think it could even be weapons to defend themselves. The idea is that support from outside can help the people inside Iran change the country themselves. You do not need to send soldiers into Iran to make this change happen. The hope is for a different future for Iran. It is a hope for an Iran that is free from the current leaders. It is a hope for a country that does not threaten other countries in the area or far away. It is also a hope for a country where its own people have freedom and a chance for a good life and success. Many Iranians have wanted this and fought for it since 1979. The current government took away many freedoms and chances they had before. The world is watching the struggle of the people inside Iran. 7. What could happen next? The fighting between Israel and Iran could become much bigger. This is a dangerous time for both countries and the region. Israel has given a strong warning. They said that even Iran's most important leaders could become targets if the attacks continue. This shows that the rules of the conflict are changing quickly. If the conflict grows, it could have serious effects on the world. One big concern is the supply of oil. A lot of the world's oil comes from the Middle East. If the fighting makes it difficult to move oil, like stopping ships from passing through important sea areas or hitting oil facilities, the price of oil could go up a lot. This would make things hard for many countries around the world and could hurt the global economy. The effects would be felt everywhere, making life more expensive for people. There are also questions about what the United States might do next. There are some places in Iran, like nuclear facilities, that are built very deep underground, maybe hundreds of feet down. Israel might not have the right weapons to destroy these places alone. The United States has special, very strong bombs and large planes that can reach targets buried deep below the ground. So, the U.S. might get involved to help destroy these specific, difficult sites if the conflict continues or gets worse. This is a possible future step. Another way things could go is towards talking and peace. Maybe the leaders of Iran will see that the fighting is too costly and dangerous. The source text mentions that Iran's supreme leader might decide to return to talks with the United States. This could be a way to stop the attacks and find a diplomatic solution. However, the source also says that previous talks did not work. Some countries have also offered to help Israel and Iran find a peaceful way out of the conflict. They have offered to help them talk to each other and find common ground. These offers show that there is a desire from some parts of the world to stop the violence and find a solution that does not involve more fighting. These peaceful offers provide a small hope. However, the path ahead is still very uncertain. The risk of the conflict getting much worse is real. Israel might continue its strong attacks on important targets, and Iran might continue to respond with many missiles and drones. The situation is not stable, and what happens next will depend on the difficult decisions made by the leaders on both sides. The world is watching closely to see which direction the conflict will take. 8. The search for an end. The main goal for countries like Israel and the United States is very important. They want to make sure Iran does not get nuclear weapons. This has been a big worry for a long time, going back many decades. Finding a way to end the fighting that is happening now is necessary for everyone. One way people have tried to stop this problem is through talking. The United States and Iran have had discussions before about Iran's nuclear sites. They tried to make agreements. For example, There were 5 different times when they held talks. But these talks did not lead to a lasting peace or stop the nuclear work in the past. The leader of the United States, President Trump, also tried to talk with Iran early in his time as president, but Iran did not accept the offers for a deal. Now, the situation is more dangerous because the fighting is open. Some people think the conflict could stop soon, but only if Iran's top leader agrees to talk again. He would need to agree to completely stop his country's program for making nuclear weapons. This is a difficult condition. If Iran's leaders do not want to talk or make a deal, the fighting will probably continue. Israel has shown it will keep attacking important military and nuclear places. There is also a possibility that the United States could decide to help Israel more directly. The U.S. military could join the attacks to try and destroy Iran's nuclear program permanently. This is a big risk for Iran if diplomacy fails. Another important idea for the future is about Iran itself. People think about what kind of government will be in power there later. Many people living inside Iran are not happy with their current government leaders. A large number, perhaps 80% of the population, do not support the current leaders. They have shown this unhappiness by having many protests in the streets. These protests have happened for many years, starting around 2009 and happening often since then, including in 2022. The people want more freedom and a better life. The hope for the future is that Iran will change. People hope for a country that lives in peace with its neighbors in the Middle East. They also hope for an Iran that gives freedom and a good life to its own citizens. The exact form of government is perhaps not the most important thing. What is important is that it is a country that is not a threat to others and respects its own people. Supporting the people of Iran who want change could help them take control of their own country. This is seen by some as a way to reach a better future. But the way to get to this future is not easy or clear right now. The fighting continues, and the situation is uncertain. The world is watching closely to see how this difficult conflict might finally find an end. There are many questions about the future of Iran and the region.